What's up, world? Welcome to another episode of the BrandonJaneauShow. As you know, I am Brandon Janeau, and like always, on all podcast platforms everywhere, it is the BrandonJaneauShow. Like always, also social media platforms, Instagram, TikTok. I really gotta figure out what the fuck threads are, but I got a threads to uh, Instagram and TikTok, BrandonJaneauShow, and of course the YouTube channel, man, Brandon Janeau Show, man. Shout out to everybody that's been subscribing, liking, and following. Appreciate it, appreciate it. Um, let's get into it, man. This is point of view of random shit. Now, on today's episode of point of view of random shit, um, I wanna talk about this. So of course, I do a sports show. My brother Juan, um, called Jack's Wild Sports Show, and we kind of talked about it. We talked about it yesterday. Yeah, because yesterday was Tuesday. So yesterday, we talked about it a little bit, but I wanted to like expound on how I felt about what's going on right now in college football. So if you don't know, if you watch sports like I do, or if you don't watch sports like I do, but if you do watch sports like I do, you know college football right now is going through pretty much a realignment of all of the conferences, which is pretty much teams leaving one conference and going to another conference. And, you know, uh, it's a lot of things going on. One conference is 100% like gutted, and that is the Pac-12. And, the Pac-12 has lost pretty much all of their teams damn near. I mean, they only have like four teams left, and I think two of them are about to leave their damn selves in the next couple of days. So by the weekend, the Pac-12 could literally have only two teams left, and those two teams are pretty much going to have to go find something. But here's the thing that people don't understand: that this does not happen until next year, next college football season. Um, 2024 is when everything will be officially done. The Pac-12 will be officially pretty much over with. What do I feel about this? It actually started back earlier, 2020, 2021, when Oklahoma and Texas, who are in the Big 12, uh, decided to leave the Big 12 and say we're going to the SEC. We have to find um, pretty much common ground in the college football landscape. And I know I keep saying college football, it does, but this does affect the entire college athletic um, structure. Because if a team is leaving a conference, how much does that conference stand intact? Pretty much. When the Big 12 loss was when Oklahoma and Texas both agreed they're going to the SEC next year, it didn't seem too over the top. I mean, here's the thing. I grew up. Here's the thing. 10 years ago, they had a realignment, but it wasn't these types of teams. It was, uh, you know, it was Missouri and Texas A&M. They left the Big 12 and went to the SEC. Then it was who else left? Nebraska, I think, also left the Big 10, the Big 12, and went to the Big 10. Maryland left the ACC and went to the Big 10. So it was a lot of situations, a lot of things that went down. West Virginia left uh, the ACC and went to the Big 12. So it was a lot of things that was going on during this situation, during this time, but never like this. And I think a lot of people, this is where people get a little bit in their feelings because, and even then, you had some teams. You had some people saying, when Texas A&M left the Big 12, they're like, oh man, the rivalry between them and Texas is gonna be forever changed, and they're never gonna get a chance to play each other. And now Texas pretty much come to the SEC in a decade, so it's like, well, fuck that shit. So what do I feel about this in all actuality, man? I feel bad for the old school people, man. The people that love um rivalries and grew up on traditional rivalries. But college football is starting to put themselves in such a position. College football is starting to put themselves in such a position where money is such the ruler of the conference of the sports room. Fuck tradition. It's just literally what it's becoming. Fuck tradition, because money is starting to become the ultimate ruler of college athletics, and not just for the schools, for the players. The players are now getting paid. So, what do I think of the conference realignment? To me personally, man, I think it's actually a good thing. I think it's actually a good thing because now you get a chance to finally stop. What college football was struggling with was this ideology that if you were a non-power five team, you had to damn near go perfect. And on top of that, not just go perfect, you damn near had to have other teams that were brand names lose. Like last year, and this is the craziest shit. TCU probably would have never made the the college football playoffs last year, and I tell you why. Sorry about that. TCU probably would have never made the college playoffs last year. They lost in the college playoff. They lost in that conference championship game. If USC didn't lose to Utah, USC would have taken the spot over TCU. Bet money. Bet money. USC beats Utah last year. USC gets in the title in the playoffs, and not TCU. I know people say, "Well, Brandon, Ohio State made it last year. They had one loss. Why do you feel like USC would have took TCU's spot?" Because Ohio State is still a brand name. USC is still a brand name. TCU is not. As good as TCU was last year, these college football playoffs would have loved to have Georgia versus USC, Ohio State versus Michigan, or Ohio State versus Georgia, which they did have, and Michigan versus USC. They would have loved that. They would have loved it. Hell, even if Clemson would have got their shit together, they would have made it. If we would have beat Georgia last year in the college playoff in the conference championship game, LSU, we would have been in. That's the thing. Now that college football is now pretty much breaking out and doing now a realignment of all these conferences, they don't have to pretend that they give a fuck about all these non-powers. The Pac-12 is done. So I don't know what the fuck they're gonna call this now. Maybe the Power Four, the Mighty Four. I'm assuming. I don't know if the ACC is still going to be relevant because I know Stanford and California could be going to the ACC, but here's the thing about that: Florida State could still leave, and then now what do you do? The real alignment, the conference alignment, realignment is, yes, a money grab. It's kind of obvious, but also it's to give your program the best opportunity in college football, the biggest looks. USC also that year that Texas and Oklahoma said they're leaving. USC says they're leaving the Pac-12 and they're taking their main rival UCLA. See, this is another thing I want to talk about. A lot of people that are screaming this is the end of tradition. Texas and Oklahoma are leaving together. USC and UCLA are leaving together. So what tradition are we breaking? Washington's already agreed to still play Washington State. Oregon's already agreed to still play Oregon State. What tradition is being broken? And that's the thing. What do I think is going to happen next? Is really the question about this college realignment. All eyes is on the ACC. I told my brother Juan that yesterday. All eyes are on the ACC because whatever the ACC, if they get Stanford in California, that's good. That's a hell of a play, good move for you. But do you still keep Florida State? And if Florida State leaves, I'm pretty sure they're gonna take either Clemson or Miami to them, probably to the SEC. So if they leave and they go to the SEC, it's only a matter of time Clemson says, you know what, we got to go to. I don't know what's next for college football, but what I can say is this. This is a good thing for college football. It is. Get out of your feelings about the tradition. Get out of your feelings with this ain't what I grew up on type of mindset. USC is leaving with UCLA. Okay? And then on top of that, Texas and Oklahoma are leaving. Washington and Oregon are leaving together. Arizona State are going to the Big 12 together, so that's still a rivalry, and you can still keep that rivalry. Utah is also going to the Big 12. So what are we missing? Colorado is also going back to the Big 12. What are we missing? That's another team that left. Colorado, I forgot that team. College football is in a good place, and I know people don't want to hear that right now. But once college football starts back up next year, I mean, well, shit, next year. Oh my God, next next couple weeks, pretty much. It starts in September 2nd, August 29th, I think is the first game of college football. The first week of college football is coming, and by the time we look up, we're gonna be so happy that this season has happened, and then by next year, you're gonna be screaming, well. If this season was good, imagine what Texas and Oklahoma are gonna look like in the SEC against Alabama and LSU, and then you put that into perspective, and then you like USC and UCLA going to the Big Ten. Holy shit, we might get a chance to see USC versus Michigan for like a college playoff berth. Like, fuck, that sounds crazy. That's the things we're not really taking into consideration. I get it. By the way, the Pac-12 fucked up. The Pac-12 suck. They are terrible. They didn't get anything lined up for the network. Nobody wanted to give them a network deal, so that's another reason why all these schools got the fuck. You telling me you couldn't get no network deal? But of course, also you got to put into perspective that USC and UCLA is the biggest point of having a network because people want to see USC. So when USC is leaving, yeah, I'm not paying you any fucking thing because the main team in your conference, USC, isn't even going to be there. Why the fuck am I going to pay you a network deal if the main team is not going to be there? And then on top of that, the Pac-12 had no payout deals to any of these teams, any of these colleges. So they could just walk free. They could just go to the conference literally the next year. So why all of this shit is kind of like, damn, this is crazy. The Pac-12 got absolutely gutted, and I think the Pac-12 should have as soon as USC and UCLA left, and you knew they were going to the Big Ten, the Pac-12 should have folded right in there. They should have folded right in there. The reason why I say that is because the only team that would have even kept you relevant, and I know people say, nah, Washington would have kept them relevant, Oregon would have kept them relevant, Utah. The only team that would have kept you relevant is Colorado. I know people are going to say that's crazy, and you're just saying it because of prime time. Yes, I am. But it's not because of just prime time. It's because he puts eyeballs on whatever school he goes to. If you don't believe me, did you not just see him at Jackson State, which is a SWAC school, which I grew up on, Grambling Southern, Texas Southern, Prairie View. You know what I'm saying? I grew up on the SWAC. So for him to get the SWAC conference eyeballs on TV sets, you telling me he couldn't keep Colorado in the Pac-12 upright? Especially if he found a way to recruit and get everybody in there that he actually wants? Come on, bro. And now he's leaving, going back to the Big 12. This is just it. The Pac-12 got gutted. Pac-12 got gutted, and it's their own damn fault. It's their own damn fault. Why the fuck did you not have a TV deal in place before USC and UCLA made the decision? I don't get that shit. Anyway, college football is not in a bad place. Everybody is screaming this is over. College football is done. College football. You're gonna be watching it this year. You're gonna be watching it next year. I don't wanna hear that shit. College football is not done. College football is actually about to hit its stride because you're about to get a bunch of fucking games every fucking Saturday that's actually going to fucking mean something. And on top of that, the college playoff is about to expand to 12 teams next year. So this is the last year. What a fucking brilliant idea that is, huh? Because now everything is going to be pretty much flipped in a year where all of these teams flip flop the conferences. So you pretty much are expanding to 12 teams, and this is gonna be pretty. This is why I say it's gonna be pretty interesting because next year's damn sure gonna be interesting because you at least have at least 5, 6 teams out the SEC and maybe 5, 6 teams out the Big Ten. But if you don't, who's the other teams that's coming out these other conferences? Because you got Utah and Arizona State, Colorado, TCU, Baylor, that's Big 12. Then you got ACC if they're still intact. You will have possibly the ACC with Florida State, Miami, Clemson. Uh, who else? Shit, man, yeah, North Carolina, which is a really good football program. Um, yeah, you got some teams in the Wake Forest, which is always kind of like a I don't know type of team every year. North Carolina State, which is always a pretty I don't know type of team every year. So this is gonna be a pretty interesting thing. And on top of it, like I said, you add also uh, Stanford, who has a rich history in college football play, and Cal, which again, by the way, everybody's complaining and bitching and moaning about rivalries. There's two rivals right there that's linked to each other that's going to the same conference together. So what are you bitching and moaning and complaining about? This is kind of obvious. So I think this is a good thing, man. College football is actually in a really good place, and I think anybody that's screaming that this is terrible for college football, you're only saying that because you just give a fuck about tradition. Take that shit out of it. Actually look at what's going on. This is actually the best thing college football can ask for. And that is what I have to say about that. Until then, I am Brandon Janeau. I can't wait for football. Peace.